Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. The Summer League has been in full swing lately, and it's been a lot of exciting players and also some players who've let us down. Before we jump into our video, though, about our winners and losers and kind of our general overview on the Summer League up to this point, I want to urge you guys to hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like on today's video if you have been enjoying the content here at Utility Sports. Also, check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd love to have your support on there. Also, you guys can go ahead and ask your questions on there, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Austin, with the start of the Summer League here, some guys have really shined. What's your thoughts so far on what you've seen?
Yeah, so there's definite guys that have shined that we expected. Kade Cunningham being one of them. He's looked like an absolute star for the Detroit Pistons, but there's some other unsung heroes that I do want to talk about later in the video. But let's first jump to a guy like Kade Cunningham. What have you seen so far from him?
He's come in and he's been ready to play, and he's been not only playing at a high level offensively, but he's been putting in a lot of effort defensively. I think that's the one thing that stood out to me that really made him worth the #1 pick. He's a guy who is all about winning. He's a competitor first, and he's going to put in the effort in changing that Detroit Pistons culture back to when they were winning championships, whether that was the Bad Boy Pistons in the late 80s, or you're looking back at 2004 when they won the championship. That team was built off of defense. Cade Cunningham's going to bring the energy on that end while still being an elite offensive player, and I think that's really, really key for the Detroit Pistons.
Another guy that we should talk about is Jalen Green, but let's talk about the Rockets holistically. What do you really like about Alperen Şengün's game that you've seen so far?
The Rockets are one of the most interesting teams, honestly, to me at this point, just because you're looking at a team that has 4 19-year-olds. They were able to finalize that buyout with Real Madrid to bring in Usman Garuba. They'll be paying over $750,000 a year for the next 4 years to finalize that. And he finally got a little bit of Summer League action. Alperen Şengün's been extremely fun to watch for me. Kind of reminds me of a young Kevin Love for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Not necessarily the guy who we know today as being a big-time three-point shooter, but more, putting his body around the rim, getting offensive rebounds, drawing fouls, being a kind of pain to deal with down on the low block, and that's really what he's been. I loved his game coming in. I had him as a top 10 player in the class. He fell to 16 for them. I'm so glad that they moved up to get him. And you also alluded to Jalen Green. He's looked great. He's going to be an absolute bucket getter in his first year. Looked for him to score over 20 points a game probably as a rookie, which is almost unheard of. Not very often we see guys do that. He is that type of player. Offensively, he's looked really, really good. And I think his playmaking, I talked about it during the draft process, that, hey, he's been underrated in this regard. He's averaging over 3.5 assists per game so far in the Summer League. And he's been a primary ball handler, and he's dealt with a lot of pressure, had a few early turnovers in his first game, and then really kind of elevated his play from there and has really adjusted well to the speed of the game, in my opinion.
Who are some of the unsung heroes that you've seen so far that you weren't really expecting to play this well?
Well, Malachi Flynn, I think, is an unsung hero because a second-year player for the Toronto Raptors, was a not highly touted prospect coming out, came from San Diego State with the Aztecs, had a phenomenal season there before getting drafted last year. Now he's really showing himself to be a very, very good player, and I think he's going to be a key role player for them. Ended up winning Rookie of the Month in the Eastern Conference last year in April towards the end of the season. And I think he's a guy that the Raptors can honestly build around. Fred VanVleet had a similar career track as Malachi Flynn. I think there's going to be a lot of success for him there under Coach Nick Nurse with the Toronto Raptors. And then two other guys that have really, really surprised me, Omer Yurtseven and also Max Strus. Those two guys have been absolute beasts. Yurtseven averaging over 25 points a game and over 10 rebounds a game. He's also been a beast protecting the rim. He has been a phenomenal addition for the Miami Heat, who I think badly needed to find a backup big man for the long-term future, and they have one there with Yurtseven, especially after giving up Precious Achiuwa in the sign and trade for Kyle Lowry. That's really big. And then Max Strus has been nothing but a bucket for the Chicago Bulls Summer League team. Very, very impressive so far, what I've seen from him.
And let's talk about one more team that's really impressed you so far, just from their holistic draft and how they've looked in the Summer League.
Yeah, that's the Golden State Warriors here. I've had a lot of interest in seeing Kuminga's transition to the NBA. There's a lot of split between how people felt about Jonathan Kuminga and kind of how they evaluated him. I looked at him as a guy who's going to walk in, be a bucket getter, and has defensive upside, and that's what he's been so far for Golden State. He's shooting about 50% from the field, and he's been very, very consistent for that team with a wide variety of skilled finishing around the rim. And then Moses Moody, the shot's going to come along for him. He was a phenomenal grab for them at 14. I thought he was a consideration pick for them at 7 even. Those two guys have played very, very well. One disappointing thing I want to touch on for the Golden State Warriors is Justinian Jessup, who spent last year with the NBL. In the 2020 draft, they took him in the second round. I thought he was going to be a guy who would come in here and probably really exceed expectations and play at a high level. He just hasn't so far to this point. But again, it's such a small sample size. I don't want to make it think that Summer League is the end all be all for these guys' careers. I think Justinian Jessup could still have a nice career, but so far I think he would be categorized almost as a loser in this Summer League.
Yeah, you already alluded to a loser. Who are some of the other players that definitely are taking a big hit to their stock during the Summer League?
We're going to be looking at more guards, honestly, from the 2020 NBA draft. First of all, I want to mention Jamias Ramsey, another second-round pick in that draft for the Sacramento Kings. Not only has he not played very well, not shooting the ball very efficiently from the field, but you're also looking at a team that drafted Davion Mitchell, has De'Aaron Fox, still has Buddy Hield, also has Tyrese Halliburton. That is a filled-out backcourt, and Davion Mitchell has been phenomenal. Looked like one of the most pro-ready players last year at Baylor, and he's proving that in the Summer League right now. He's an absolute beast. And Jamias Ramsey's going to lose a lot of minutes and possible career development for him. I don't know if he really has a future with the Sacramento Kings at this point, unfortunately. Maybe he ends up getting packaged with Marvin Bagley somewhere during the season. And then also Cole Anthony, another second-year guard. And in kind of a similar situation as Jamias Ramsey, he's a shot creator. And I just don't see him staying with the Orlando Magic. He's probably going to end up becoming an NBA journeyman just a little bit. I think he has a nice skill set, probably coming off the bench for a majority of his career. But at the same time, they just brought in Jalen Suggs. The future in Orlando is not going to be built around Cole Anthony. They also have Markelle Fultz. So Orlando's got a bevy of guards, and I don't think Cole Anthony is going to fit long-term into it. I was hoping he would look a little bit better than he has so far, especially as a second-year player. You kind of have to be a step above the competition with the experience you already have in the NBA.
Now, with the final prompt here, what player do you think moving forward throughout the rest of the Summer League is going to be kind of a guy that pops off? I think a guy that he's been under the radar so far, but really has a chance to elevate his game.
I think Alperen Şengün, I know he's not necessarily under the radar, but I think he just keeps getting better every single game he plays. I think he's adjusting to the NBA speed a little bit more. And then also Luca Garza. He's been impressive for me so far with the Detroit Pistons. I don't know how he fell to 52. I had him as a top 45 player on my board. I thought that he should have probably been a mid-30s pick, honestly, because offensively, you know what you're getting from him. He's going to be consistent off the low block. He can score on guys consistently down in that area, and that's something that a lot of teams are going to look for off the bench. Robin Lopez keeps getting contracts because of his ability to score with that little jump hook he has. Luca Garza, an even better post player than Robin Lopez. There's value for a guy like that around the league, even with some of those defensive deficiencies. So I think Luca Garza is still a guy to watch down the stretch of the Summer League.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Also, leave a like if you do like NBA Summer League. We will be covering more and more of that as the Summer League continues to progress. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys in our next video.